Folk who did something in Vegas that did not stay in Vegas. What happened? 1-to-1 was in the Venetian playing roulette with my wife. In walks this crowd of drunk early 20s frat guys. I quickly picked up that it was one of said guy's 23rd B day and he was down to his last $100. He puts it on black, it hits. Now he's got $200 and he wants to walk away, but his friends are egging him on, so he lets it ride. Hits again, now he has $400. The table is growing loud as he lets it ride again. $800. At this point, stuff is getting exciting. He puts the $800 on red and it hits again. $1,600. Now it's getting really loud and the other frat guys are all like, just let it ride, dude. This guy puts the $1,600 on number 23. I think that was higher than the table max because the pit boss came over to approve it, and obviously approved it. I covered my face with my hands. I knew what it would feel like to lose a free $1,600 as a 23-year-old and was picturing the devastation. The wheel spins and it was a $56,000 payout, if I remember correctly. Let me tell you, that table was friggin' pandemonium. They did leave after that, and I presume had a fun night. 2, got dumped by a girl I thought was the one. In my despair, I hopped in the car and drove to Vegas. No plan, no room, very little money. First night there, I met a girl in the same boat, and she looked like Sarah Michelle Gellar. We spent 4 days wandering about and doing decadent and debaucherous things. Before we parted ways, we got matching tattoos, nothing significant, just a silly little symbol. This was before social media, and she scribbled her name and number on a piece of paper, and I lost it. That was 26 years ago. I don't even remember her name, but we had a hell of a time, and I still have a silly little tattoo. 3, not from misbehaving, but happened to me when I was there. I guess NSFW went there with a group of people for a men's league, beer league level, hockey tournament. Sharing a room with our team captain, I spent the evening with another friend bouncing around a few places on the strip, but nothing too wild because we had a game in the morning. Team captain was still awake when I got to the room. Spoke briefly about our days. We both go to sleep. He never woke up. Natural cause so far as I know, as he wasn't into any drugs, but it fucked me up knowing a friend just died right beside me and I was the last person he spoke to. Really made me hope I didn't miss any signs of distress. Felt awful for a long time after. Still do in a way. 4 years ago, and not long out of law school, was in court for a case against opposing counsel, who I had gone to law school with, and her paralegal. I had met the paralegal once just in passing. I lost, and I exchanged pleasantries with both women, and I headed to the airport for a family member's Vegas wedding. That night, we finished the rehearsal dinner at the Venetian, and I go walking around, just people watching, little gambling, drinking, headed back to my room at the Bellagio, and I hear my name sort of screeched. I spin, and it's opposing counsel's paralegal, and she's sprinting at me, throws her arms around me, and long story short, she too was in Vegas for her sister's wedding and left court for the airport. We chat, no biggie. I head up to my room as her and her bridesmaid friends are going out. 3 a.m. There's a knock. I open, and it's her. She walks in, kicks off her heels, and just crawls into my bed and curls up and is out. I cover her up and take the other bed. At 7 a.m. or so, I wake up to the sound of my shower. There's a black dress, thigh highs, underwear in a pile on my floor. I picked them up and folded them and laid back down. She comes out in a towel a few minutes later and sits on the bed. I ask her if she remembers how she got there, and she said yes, she had gone out and they got drunk as fuck, and she doesn't drink nearly at all. She was beyond incoherent. They got to some bar. The girls took off without her, and one had her phone because she was checking something. She had no idea where she was, couldn't even remember her hotel as she was rooming with her cousin, who booked it but remembered seeing me at Bellagio. She took off walking and followed the fountains and ended up there, talked the front desk lady into giving her my room number, and there she was. She thanked me for letting her crash and not asking questions. Then she asked for a favor, if she could borrow a shirt, shorts, and pool shoes, and if she could bum a Uber back to her hotel. So I got her downstairs, some coffee, and in her car. I get home several days later and back to work. On my desk in a FedEx box with my shirt, shorts, shoes, a $50 bill, and a "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas" cheesy shirt with a note that said she appreciated everything, along with info on reservations at a restaurant and her number. And that dinner was my ex-wife and I's first date.